In this video, I want to talk about select by color range. Now what this is going to allow you to do is make a selection on your document based on a tonal range of colors. It's pretty easy to do actually. Let's go under select and jump down to color range. And here's how this works. You've got a few different ways you can view this whole thing by default. And what I'm going to do is start off just by jumping all the way to the bottom. We have the selection preview. Your drop-down allows you to switch this to none, to grayscale, and what this shows you is an area where any white pixels are 100% selected, black pixels are 0% selected, and of course your various shades of gray designate a percentage of selection in between those two extremes. So if I click out here in space, just over here where the water is, you can see that all of these white pixels will be 100% selected. We can also switch over to black matte. What that's going to do is show you the original image. However, anything that is not selected will be masked out in black. You can also do white matte, which is the same thing with white, so that you see the original image, but anything that is not selected is completely covered over with white. And then we have quick mask, which gives you the result of your quick mask, whatever those settings happen to be. So by default, that's going to be this 50% pale red. Now I'm going to leave this at grayscale for now. And now let's talk about the actual settings. So we can choose to select actual sampled colors, or we can choose from a variety of predetermined colors. Now at the they should be pretty straightforward. So we can just choose the reds, and there's what our selection would look like. We can just choose the yellows. Blues should be pretty interesting. We get most of the water, cyans and so forth. We can just grab the highlights. We can just grab the shadows. So of course you can do any of these easy drop downs. You can also select out of gamut, and basically these are colors that are being clipped. So this is not an ideal image because some of these images, or some of these pixels, or a lot of these pixels, are actually way outside of gamut. So it's a great way to be able to designate those. Now, moving down to some of our other areas here. As you saw earlier, I can click on any given area of my image. And what you're seeing as a result as I do that is that any pixels that are within this fuzziness factor are being selected as well. So if I set that down to 0, really we're getting pixels that are pretty much exactly the same tone as the one we clicked on. So generally you're going to want to have some fuzziness in there. But you can go a little bit too far. The cool thing about having fuzziness all the way up in this case is with one click, I pretty much get all the water and I don't get the jellyfish. But that could end up being problematic, and so you have the ability to add and remove from your selection with the Shift and Alt keys. So if I hold down Shift, I'm adding to my selection. And ideally, if I just wanted to, like, say, change the water somehow, this is close to what I want to see. I want to see something that looks like the jellyfish in black against a white background. And if I have that, then I know that I've selected just the water. I can boost the fuzziness factor. Notice though how that starts to bleed the selection into the jellyfish a little bit. That's not necessarily a problem though, because if you look at our original image, there's some blue from the water actually showing through the jellyfish's body. So I can make use of that here with our adjusting our fuzziness up. Now we also have the option for localized color clusters, and what that's going to do is actually read the location where we click to determine what is and isn't selected. If this is off, then you're selecting tonal values across the entire image. When it's on, you're only selecting within the boundaries of where you click. So for instance, if I have this on and I click on the lower corner of the image, the lower left corner to be specific, it will continue looking until it reaches a significant change in tones, and then it'll be kind of like a border. It'll stop looking. So generally, I leave this off, but every so often it does help to kind of turn it on. You can kind of see how it changes the results of based on where we've clicked so far. Then if you have that on, you can control the range of how far that you've been clicking. So as I keep hitting Shift and clicking, you see how that works because my range is really low, so you can see where this is looking. It's very, very cool. And then you can kick that up and watch that expand out. So if you just kind of want to see the result of how this is actually doing its trick, that's a really neat way to do it. Okay, so finally, down here inside our little tiny preview window, you can choose to see what's selected, or you can see the original image. It's a couple of different ways to work. You can set this to none and this to the selection. Generally, I like to work with grayscale and image on. And you can make sample selections out of either one. So I can hold down Shift and I can click out here in space, or I can just do a single click if I want to kind of start all over again. It looks like an old UFO photo of some sort, doesn't it? Anyway, or you can make selections right here inside your little preview window. Now the neat thing about doing that is you can see your feedback right over here. But once I have something that I like, I can simply click OK. And there we go. We have selected everything within that tonal range. I can make this a brilliant green, and there you have it. Now, of course, generally you wouldn't want to do something like this, or if you did, you'd want to do something like an overlay effect, or maybe just something like a color, and then maybe adjust your opacity a little bit. But in any event, that shows pretty much everything for a select by color range. The only other things we didn't show are some of the buttons that we have over here. These are for adding to your sample, so we can click, and of course there's just make a new sample each time you click. If you switch this to add, then each time you click, you're adding to it without having to hold down the Shift key. Generally, I just hold down Shift. Or you can hit the minus button and you are removing away. You can also invert your selection with just by turning on invert, which is pretty handy. You can load and save specific selections if you'd like to, though I generally don't do that. And that's it. Of course, all that does is just kind of show off what this tool is used for. It's great if you need to make a selection of specific colors in your image, especially if you want to replace the color on some image. Maybe you have a picture of a bright yellow car and you want to make the car red. Then you can use this tool to select those yellow panels of the car and then start applying various effects to change that color to anything you like. That will, however, wrap things up for this video. Thanks a lot for watching.